It began in the late 1920s and has continued almost non-stop ever since. It has been called a factory, a pipeline, even a phenomenon. There is no simple explanation for why the Tampa Bay area has produced so many big league baseball players, but there are plenty of theories. Weather, coaching, bloodlines. But if you ask enough people who have spent their lives here playing and teaching others about the game they love, you begin to understand that for many, baseball has become part of the region's culture.
When we grew up here in Tampa, baseball was the predominant sport by far.
Obviously, we have great weather year-round. You get to play all the time, but there's a lot of it's a very intense atmosphere that you get to be a part of at a young age. And there's so much high-quality players that the competition probably brings the best out of a lot of players.
You have a lot of guys locally who have taught kids through the years how to care about the game, how to want to go to practice instead of having to go to practice. It became just a kind of a way of life for these kids.
It could be the bloodlines, I don't know. You could always say it's Boliche Boulevard, which is what you get your steaks, yellow rice and chicken, platanitos, everything else. Maybe that's has something to do with it, but it's just the kids embrace the game. They love the game. They had a passion for the game.
It's a hotbed for baseball, from the youth leagues to high school to professional. We have a lot of professional baseball here. We have great weather. It's been a sport in our state since the turn of the century. And with all this in a combination with great weather, it's made to happen. It's perfect for our game of baseball.
This is a time, 1910, you have movie theaters, you have dance halls. In Ybor City, you have a vibrant Spanish language, Italian language theater going on. But baseball is the game that will bring everyone together. Again, it transcends class, racial, ethnic lines. It's extraordinarily popular.
Tampa's near obsession with the game acts as a sort of incubator, and by the mid-20s, it produces the first of what will become a long line of big leaguers. Al Lopez becomes an inspiration for an entire generation of baseball-crazy kids, who all seemingly want to follow in his footsteps.
Al Lopez, coming from this area, from Ybor City, and making an imprint in Major League Baseball, and then going on to manage, that basically intensified the feelings that, boy, you know what, you can get to the big leagues if you work hard, you dedicate yourself, and get the opportunity.
At a young age, you always wanted to say, hey, maybe I'll get there one of these days and play, Hey, I know so-and-so, he made it, or this guy's playing, D-ball now. I can play, I think I can do that.
At the same time, there were a lot of ex-players that had played either in the majors or minors, and there were abundance of good coaches here. I remember my American Legion and Pony League teams. The coaching was fantastic.
We played at the at Cascaden Park, which had two small diamonds, little league-sized diamonds, in the outfield of their big diamond, their field, and we had Andrew Espolita was our coach. He was the playground director. Was our coach. So far ahead of his time as far as drills and stretching and stuff when we were 9 and 10 years old. Stuff I never did again until I got to pro ball.
Espo coached everybody at that park, and because if you see the product that comes out of that park, you see how well they are fundamentally, fielding, bunting, sliding. He covered all the bases, and it showed in the way those kids when they went on to play at the high school level. It showed up there and at the park, and for some at the professional level.
It's names like Piniella and Larussa that tend to define this generation of kids from West Tampa and Ybor City. But some of their contemporaries have gone on to make a significant impact by passing on their knowledge and love of the game through coaching.
I thought that if I could get guys to the next level, to me college was the next level. It was almost more important, or maybe more important than signing a professional baseball contract or anything like that, because after college you could still go, you know. But getting guys ready for the next level, which meant not only baseball skills, but grades, and getting them to college.
It's just that I love the game. Grew up with the game, and I just wanted to be around it. So even when I was a coach at Jefferson, I had a minor league team at West Tampa, little guys. And we used to coach those guys up, and I just enjoyed it.
With an abundance of talent and good coaching in the 1950s, West Tampa and Ybor City seemed ready for the next wave of big league talent. This time, two players, Lou Piniella and Tony Larussa, would come to symbolize their generation.
Tony was a tremendous high school baseball player. I mean, what a shortstop. I mean, he'd go in the hole, dive, get up, make the throw up the middle, short ground, or hit the ball. He was tremendous. We would be working out at McFarland Park, Legion, and his dad would holler, "Tony, come on back." There's another scout coming in to talk about signing him. They didn't have a draft in those days.
He was an Ybor City guy, and he also moved to West Tampa. And I played with him at the little league age, 10 and 11. He was always a year younger than us, and we were 10 and 11. He was 9 and 10, that type of thing. And but he went to Cuba with us. He was a tremendous ball player, and the first bonus guy ever signed out of Tampa. That's before they had the baseball draft. He signed with the at that time Kansas City Athletics for like $85,000. We thought, wow, bought his parents' home and got a car and a set of golf clubs, and everybody was happy.
He was always a really, really good player, played a very demanding position, shortstop, always really looked good in a uniform, intelligent baseball player. It was almost like a coach or a manager on the field, believe it or not. It didn't surprise me at all that he went on to manage and have the Hall of Fame career that he did.
Lou was a better basketball player than he was a baseball player, actually. He went to the University of Tampa on a basketball scholarship and stuff. But I didn't know Lou too much as a baseball player until I moved to West Tampa. I knew him when we went to Our Lady of Perpetual Help school in Ybor City. Pop went to the same school. And Lou played basketball for St. Joseph, who's in West Tampa. And so we played each other in basketball, But I knew him from then, but I didn't know about his baseball skills until after. And we played against each other. He went to Jesuit, played against each other in high school and in American Legion and stuff, Very good ball player. He'll tell you himself, he was a hothead then, and he kind of continued a little bit after that,
Lou was a tremendous hitter, but he had a temper. Ooh, he'd throw the bat, he'd throw the glove, you saw him as a manager picking up the base and throwing it. As a high school player, he was intent, and if he didn't do well, he'd be upset, but he could always hit.
Larussa and Piniella spend most of their childhoods playing against each other. But when they get to high school, they have an opportunity to team up in American Legion.
It was very competitive. I mean, you had to be a pretty good player to get yourself into the starting lineup and to maintain your status. And I remember when I played, Tony Larussa would hit second in the lineup. I would hit third, and then Kenny Suarez would hit fifth or sixth. So, and 3 kids from an American Legion team making it to the big leagues. That's pretty good. And we were West Tampa Post 248 right there at McFarland Park.
While Piniella and Larussa undoubtedly burnished Tampa's reputation as a source of big league talent, it's the next group that turns it into a hotbed. Starting in the mid-70s, the list of kids from the region who not only get to the majors, but become big-time pros, reads like an all-star team roster.
I'm talking about the Wade Boggs, I'm talking about the Dwight Goodens, the Gary Sheffields, Tino Martinez. I mean, I can go on and on with this. Luis Gonzalez, great players from this era. And it got to the point where really the Tampa area was the most prolific area at one time for Major League Baseball talent. And not only Major League Baseball talent, I'm talking about Hall of Fame and very, very good upper level talent.
You don't need to look any further than Pop Questa's Jefferson High teams of the 80s to find better examples. The Dragons roster from that era features no less than 3 future Big League All-Stars: Fred McGriff, Tino Martinez, and Luis Gonzalez.
Freddie was just a sweet, sweet swing, always had it. And back then he was wearing glasses, he was skinny, you know, and he's a big guy now, you know. And he got himself some contact lens and became Fred McGriff. Yeah, he's the real deal. Should be in the Hall of Fame.
He got bigger. And then between his junior year and senior year, all of a sudden he grew 3 or 4 inches. All of a sudden he was stronger from the workouts. He started hitting the ball with authority, going the other way. I remember a scout from the Yankees, he kept telling me, don't say anything to anybody about Fred. We're going to draft him.
Playing his freshman and sophomore years at Tampa Catholic and his final 2 seasons at Jefferson, Martinez gets the chance to play for both Coach Permoy and Coach Questa.
When I got there, Tino Martinez was a backup right fielder. And we're related down the line somewhere. And I said, Tino, you should play first base. Start bringing your first base glove. And Tino moved into the first base spot. I think it was probably 7 games into the season. He took over. The rest is history. You know, he hit .420 as a freshman. And then he played 2 years at Tampa Catholic for me. And then he went to play for Coach Questa at Jefferson.
One summer, teaching driver ed, and he knocks on the coach. What do I got to do to get to Jefferson? We're transferring. I said, don't play games, Steve. I'm coming. Me, my brother, Iglesias' son is coming. A left-handed pitcher's coming. I had about 4 guys transfer over because they dropped in classification, and Tino wanted to play at a higher level. So they all came over, and all of a sudden they made me a better coach. Louis was not drafted out of high school. He was kind of a little uncoordinated. He was still growing. But once he grew up, filled out, he started getting better, and then he finally got drafted out of South Alabama.
I don't know how many games these guys have won in high school, but what an imprint! What a legacy they've left in baseball here in our area. And that's one of the reasons that the passion, the love of the game, the teaching expertise, and that's one of the reasons that you saw so many great players coming out of this area.
I don't know of a high school that doesn't have a major league player from their high school, whether it's Tony Larussa at Jefferson and with Lou Piniella at Jesuit, 2 former big league players, 2 former big league managers that competed against each other in the World Series. No city in the United States can say that.
As if Tampa's success on the field in Major League Baseball isn't enough, the 1990 World Series may be the city's ultimate showcase, when Tony Larussa's Oakland A's face off against Lou Piniella's Cincinnati Reds.
In that particular series, Oakland was heavily favored. They had just a great team with the Bash brothers and the good pitching that they had, Dave Stewart and Eckersley, just to name a couple. But you know, our kids in Cincinnati could play, and we could hit fastballs, and Oakland was a fastball pitching team. At the same time, we had velocity on our staff. We had the Nasty Boys, we had Jose Rio, and we threw the ball by the Oakland big hitters, Canseco and McGuire and that bunch. But you know, it goes to show you how hard it is to win a world championship. That was only my 4th year managing, and I was able to win a world championship, and then I managed for another 19 years and never got back to the World Series. But at least I'm undefeated in World Series play.
The Bay Area's proud tradition of big league players and managers continues on today, and you don't have to look any further than the Trop to find one of the most recent examples. Rays skipper Kevin Cash, a product of Tampa's Northside Little League.
Very fortunate to have a dad that had played pro ball, had pretty good knowledge, but was also, a great dad. He was kind of the Little League father that threw all the extra BP. He was always coaching my brother or my team, our team. So couldn't have asked for a better coach and to get me started in, such a great game. It was never a question of, anybody pushing me out the door to go practice or have a game. It was, I knew what time the game was, and I was probably dressed 3-4 hours earlier.
They went to the World Series in Little League and stuff, so I knew, they're right across the street from Gaither. So I knew of him, and I thought he would always be a cowboy. And he worked really hard. He's probably told this story a million times. We had a fall baseball, which wasn't associated with the school, and cut him. And he was just so small then. It was his size. Not that he couldn't play. He had great hands and pretty good throwing arm. Just so small, could hit the ball in the infield. And all his friends made the team, and he didn't.
That disappointment doesn't last long, and by the following spring, Cash not only makes the team, but starts showing signs of an above-average baseball IQ.
He was a middle infielder for us, and basically the captain of our infield. And we had some certain set plays that we would do, and he'd go, "Why don't we try it this way?" And we would try it, and it worked pretty good. I said, "Yeah, let's go ahead and do it that way," And so you'd think right there, well, this guy might be a coach one of these days, but not thinking, major league manager, never thinking that.
He was the kind of player that was literally, and again a trite phrase, he was a coach on the field. His maturity sometimes probably even surpassed his ability, because he was just that guy. He was the guy who's putting his arm around teammates, slapping them on the butt and saying, "Hey, relax. We're gonna get this done. Just make the play the next time." You could almost see it.
After a successful college career at Florida State, Cash makes the switch to catcher and goes on to play 8 years in the big leagues with several teams, including his hometown Rays. Even though he's now a big league manager, Cash still remembers some of the lessons learned from his high school coach.
Probably patience, because when you're dealing with the group, that age group, you better have some patience. And we did some not very smart things, and he was always patient. He'd come down on us pretty hard, but it was very forgiving and understand that as long as we were listening and respecting, he always showed a lot of patience.
He's a high school All-American. He's a Florida State All-American. He gets converted, Toronto, gets to the big leagues. He plays for us, both with the Durham Bulls and the big leagues. And he's a prime example of baseball here in the Tampa Bay area.
The desire to not only pass along the fundamentals of the game to the next generation, but that sense of joy that comes from playing it are hallmarks of Tampa Bay baseball coaches. Doug Rector is getting his chance to do that now with his son. The big righty's love for the game starts as a kid in St. Pete and continues on to Northeast High, where, as a senior, he's a two-sport star facing a big decision.
I had that scholarship to USF, and to me, it was 50-50 option. I really loved the game of football, but I just had the confidence that I knew that I could go a little bit further in baseball. I thought that my talent could take me to the big leagues, and eventually I was able to make it there. But yeah, it was a fun ride, but I really didn't believe that I could make it to the big leagues start believing until I was a senior in high school.
Great character, great work ethic, with great stuff. And when you come out of high school, even though they play a lot of games, there's a change in professional baseball. Now you're playing against the best in the world, and you got to make adjustments. Doug made those adjustments, played on the big field here for us, and did well until injuries, slowed down his career.
We brought him up when I was managing the Rays, and what a dedicated young man he was. He loved to compete. He loved to get good coaching and improve. And I'll tell you what, he did a really, really nice job of pitching. He could throw strikes. He wasn't scared of the situation. He had a wonderful, wonderful breaking ball. And, his career was cut short by injuries.
During his time with the Rays, Rector has the opportunity to work with pitching coach Chuck Hernandez, whose guidance and calm demeanor are things he still remembers to this day.
It's so easy when you get into pro ball and you get hit around a little bit to just start thinking, well, I'm never going to make it. You know, I have no chance. I'm not good enough. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to go get, a different job and do something else less stressful. And he was so good at just kind of relaxing you and saying, hey, look, this is a game. Calm down. It's not the end of the world if you give up some hits, which I gave up a lot of hits. He did such a good job of putting his arm around you and just saying, hey, look, you got the stuff. There's a reason you're here. Just calm down, start believing in yourself a little bit more, and we'll work at it. We'll work at it together. What Chuck did for me, I go out and I'm trying to teach my 8-year-old kid and his team the same thing. I try to go out there and I try to put my arm around the kid when they have a bad game. And these kids are, they take it to heart. And you have a bad game and all of a sudden they're crying in the dugout, and it's something that I'm able to do. I'm able to go comfort them and say, look, it's a baseball game. It's just, you're out here to have fun, and I really feel like I learned that from Chuck, and so it's fun to kind of pass that on. It's not so much about teaching them the fundamentals of the game, even though I love doing that. It's more about me spending time with him and being able to love the game of baseball together.
Maybe it's that simple. Baseball has become a part of the culture because of a community of people who revere the game and their desire to pass it down to the next generation like a cherished family heirloom and an important piece of Tampa Bay baseball history.
The talent level, they say, goes ups and downs, but it's always consistent, especially in the state of Florida and especially in the area of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, all the surrounding cities, and for some reason there's just a mecca for baseball in this area, and I see it only getting stronger. With the rich history that we have, it's just one of those things that's almost built into you.
We have great weather here. We have great facilities. Parents are into it. I can't see it slowing down. Why wouldn't you want to be a major league player?